Hello everybody, welcome to the StartupGrind-Zagreb. My guest speaker today is Albert, the founder of Circuitmess and MAKERbuino. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Hi everybody, thank you for coming in such a large quantity.
In this horrible weather, the rain and everything.
Yeah.
So welcome Albert, thanks for joining me today. And let's talk a little bit about you. What do you do?
What do I do? So, I'm a 19-year-old kid from a small city near Zagreb, here in Croatia, and I make a living out of selling toys online. That's what I do. I also have a startup, and yeah.
Okay, so tell me more about your startup.
Okay, so my startup, it's called Circuitmess. It comes from two words, circuit and mess. Circuit because that's what we do. We make circuits, electronic circuits, and mess because my startup is in a big mess. And what we actually do is we make game consoles like this one. So these are game consoles similar to the original Game Boy, but the main difference between this and the Game Boy is that this game console, it comes disassembled in a box like this, and you need to assemble it from a bunch of tiny components and learn something about electronics in the process of assembly. So we are actually making educational devices disguised in the shape of game consoles and selling them online on our web shop and on Amazon, on eBay, and other e-commerce stores. So yeah, that's what we do.
Well, that's great. So how many games does it have?
Oh yeah, so this game console has 30 games, and after you assemble it, you put this SD card inside, and it already has 30 preloaded games on it, and you can code more games because all the development tools are open source. And we have this games gallery online where people submit their own creations, their own games, and every game is available with the source code. And the whole point is that the users that are making these devices at home and learning about electronics, they're also making games, sharing them with each other and putting them in the games gallery. So yeah, 30 games and lots of other cool functions like, for example, these yellow ports are used for multiplayer gaming, and you can also adjust its backlight like this, and yeah, it even has a battery and a speaker and makes funny sounds like this. So yeah, lots of fun stuff.
Very retro.
Yeah, exactly.
So where did the idea come from?
The idea, so I get asked that question a lot, and there isn't really a remarkable story about the origin of MakerBuino. Actually, I made the first one in 2014. It wasn't this pretty, it was much uglier. And the first one that I made, I was actually having fun with electronics. I started doing electronics and robotics and electronic programming as a hobby, and I was just, trying out what I can do with a bunch of components that I had in a drawer, and I came up with a game console that I assembled. And I really didn't think that it was any special. And it all became a bit more serious in 2016 when Tommy Slatsar invested in the whole project, and I funded the company with him, started a Kickstarter campaign, and then the whole story just started rolling.
Okay, well, let's hear some parts of that story. So, how did he invest? Did you contact him? Did he heard about MakerBuino? So, was it already a product or was it still a prototype?
Yeah, it was actually sort of like a proof of concept, and I was improving I was improving its design, and just having fun and adding some extra functions to the product. And I started going to these innovation fairs and electronic fairs and some other sorts of festivals where people were coming that were interested in electronics and this whole field, and they found this product that I made, this proof of concept, this first MakerBuino. They found it really, really interesting, and I really liked the idea of me showing these devices and meeting like-minded people. So I started going to more and more innovation fairs, and in 2016 I was at this biggest innovation fair in Europe, in Rome, and we were chosen to be the representatives of Croatia thanks to this early prototype of MakerBuino. And after coming back to Croatia, we gained lots of media visibility, lots of Croatian press writing about us, and Tomislav, he contacted me. He found the idea really interesting, and we were talking, and he just proposed. He just came up with the idea of us making a company together and trying to sell these devices online. By the way, Tomislav, he already has a company. He has a company that's over 120 employees big, and he also comes from my little city of Karlovac near Zagreb. He was actually going to the same high school like me, and he was living next door to my apartment. And I actually met him before, and his story really is inspirational. He started his company when he was 19, and he managed to grow it to 120 employees in just, I think, 5 years or something like that. So when he saw that I was trying to do something with this device, he really wanted to help me out because he somehow saw himself when he was younger and when he was starting with his company. So he decided to just help me out, because at that point I really didn't have the money nor experience, and I was sort of good in doing electronics, but I had no idea about how to lead a startup, how to start a company, how to do anything business related. So he became a mentor of sort and a collaborator, and he really helped me get this thing rolling and to actually start selling this thing. Yeah, so and we started a Kickstarter campaign in March 2017, and our goal was to sell 120 MAKERbuinos. That was $10,000. We had a goal of $10,000 American dollars on Kickstarter, and the campaign, the duration was 25 days. And what happened, it really amazed us, because we reached that goal of $10,000 American dollars in just 3 days, and in 25 days until the end of the campaign, we've collected over 100,000 American dollars. So we surpassed our goal 10 times, and that was a huge deal for us. Not because it was a relatively large amount of money, since we just started the thing, and we actually started funding the company, started registering the company during the Kickstarter. We didn't even have a company when we started the Kickstarter campaign. And what this actually showed us is that people that were backing MAKERbuino on Kickstarter, that were supporting our project and buying these quirky devices, they were mainly from the United States, Germany, and United Kingdom. So they were they were complete strangers. They weren't some locals from Croatia that found me interesting and decided to invest in the project and buy MAKERbuino. They were complete strangers that just found some kind of value in the project. And at that point, I really saw that this could make some kind of commercial success, and I decided to go with it full time. So now over 4,000 MAKERbuinos are sold, and we are still counting. And that's a brief story of MAKERbuino.
Great. Now we can expand on it some more.
Yeah, of course.
So, how did you prepare for the Kickstarter campaign?
How did we prepare? So,
was it a long process?
Well, kind of, yeah. So I was taking this device to innovation fairs and festivals and events alike for years before the Kickstarter campaign, and we were slowly building the audience without even knowing it. So we at that point, I just started a web page and a Facebook page and a Twitter page and all those social media accounts at some point. And I was just collecting followers and building an email list. And I didn't really think that we were going to use those in a Kickstarter campaign, but it actually served quite well, because when the campaign started, we already had a built audience that was ready to accept the project and actually buy it. And besides that, well, we were preparing intensively for like 3 months before the Kickstarter campaign, when we knew what we were doing, and we hired some people that helped us with the video. We hired some designers, and we were improving the device and calculating our profit margins and calculating the exact price that we are going to use in the Kickstarter campaign. So I don't know, let's say probably a year or something like that, but we weren't preparing all the time for a Kickstarter campaign. But yeah, it was a long process. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask exactly. To make sure it's not that yeah, just woke up, did it in 24 hours, and boom.
Yeah, no. Those stories they usually aren't true. Yeah, you need to evaluate the market and improve the product and gain some feedback. And we were making workshops with children before starting the campaign because we really wanted to make the device buildable by by a
child.
Yeah, by a child. Yeah. We wanted to correct some design flaws, and we were doing some product testing, and yeah, it was actually a quite long process, and we are currently going through the process again because we are planning to launch something new in the second half of 2018. But I mustn't tell you what it is, but it's going to be similar to MAKERbuino.
Oh, cool! Looking forward to finding out what it is.
Yeah, me too.
What, you know?
Maybe, maybe not. Yeah, I'm kidding. I know what I'm doing, of course. Easy peasy.
So this is part of the maker movement, right? And do it yourself.
Yeah, sort of. The maker movement in general, yeah, it became quite popular in the past couple of years because people, they think that building things and 3D printing and doing electronics, they think that it's cool again, and yeah, it sort of is a part of the maker movement, and we really like other fellow makers and are going to these maker fairs where makers show their devices. And yeah, I think the maker community is actually a big part of our audience is the maker community. Yeah, of course.
So let me ask you a little bit more about yourself before MAKERbuino. So as a child, did you thought, well, when I grow up, I'm going to be an engineer, or I'm going to be an entrepreneur, or what was it?
Yeah, it's a fun question. Yeah, so when I was a child, I actually didn't know what I would like to do when I grow up, and I was just having fun, and I was building these electronic devices out of pure fun, and sort of by accident it turned into something more. And yeah, and I think actually this Tom, when I was having a coffee with this investor guy, Thomas, with my mentor, collaborator, he asked me once, Albert, you're a smart guy, you can actually enroll a cool college and finish it and get a nice job, but the question is whether you would like to be Google or work for Google. And we're never actually going to become Google, and because it's a hard thing to do. But what he just wanted to make me think, and I realized that I really enjoy more this whole idea where I can make my own products and employ people and be an entrepreneur, and I find it more interesting than just being employed in a company where I'm some kind of a front-end developer building an application for a bank or something like that.
So you did apply for a college?
Yeah, and I did apply, and after a couple of months I sort of dropped out, but I dropped out before the school year even started because I got this really great opportunity when I was in high school, and at my finishing grade of high school I started my company. And I figured out that I really cannot do both of those things in the same time and succeed at both. And I just figured out that I had to choose one, and I decided to go with the company.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that? So what was your thinking at the time? Well, this opportunity is now, if I let it go, I'll always wonder what was going to happen.
Yeah, exactly that thing. Yeah, I could have never, I could never forgive myself if I didn't take that opportunity, because for me this was a one-time lifetime opportunity, the opportunity of my life, because I had an opportunity to actually turn my to turn my hobby into a living, and you know, you just do not get those opportunities every day. At my finishing grade of high school, there was already this Kickstarter campaign, and we started the Kickstarter campaign we didn't know what was going to happen. And when the Kickstarter boomed, and when we surpassed our goal for 10 times, I figured out that this was growing into something more, and I just had to, you know, make this hard decision. I had to choose one thing, and I decided to go with the company. And here I am. And yeah, I dropped out of college, and I had nothing against colleges and formal education, and I wouldn't advise to anyone to do the same thing. But you know, you just cannot say that everybody has to go to college and nobody has to go to college. It's really individual, and just have to figure out what best suits you and what's the best option you have in your situation. And in my situation, I figured out that I'm probably going to benefit more if I spend 5 years in my company in developing products, in hiring people, in doing Kickstarter campaigns, compared to what I'm going to gain from 5 years of formal education. But that's not the case in everybody's life, so you just need to figure out what suits you best.
Okay. Now I would like to ask the audience if they have any questions for Albert.
Yes, I do.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, of course.
Lovely story, so thank you for sharing it with us. My question, maybe I didn't understand it, is like, could you tell us a bit more about, so how big is your team at the moment? Mm-hmm. And when you started, how do you currently cope with that sort of the entrepreneurial uncertainty, you know, when things, obviously there are plans, but then there are things that, you know, pop up, and you never know what another day brings, right? And long hours and a lot of, where do you get the tenacity and persistence as well? Oh. Which is, I believe, key.
Okay, so. Quite a lot of questions.
Oh, sorry, yeah, so,
currently, my team, we have 3 full-time employees and 4 half-time employees that are working in our company. So it's approximately 6 or 7 people walking in our headquarters all the time. And so the other question was something about...
Yeah, what's the source of sort of persistent tenacity? That's...
Oh, so the source...
What keeps you going?
What keeps me going? So... You know, I'm really, really proud of how I gained a lot of responsibility and a lot of freedom at a really young age. And my parents, they decided to let me lead a company and register a company when I was 18 years old. And I'm really, really satisfied with this feeling of freedom, where I have to make hard decisions, and when something pays off at the end of the day, that is something that sort of drives me. And perhaps the biggest thing that drives me is, well, the fact that I managed to design something myself that I'm able to sell and make a living out of it. So I turn my hobby into a living, and I really like doing these things. I really like talking about these things. I really like selling them. I really like designing these things, supporting the people that buy these things, and yeah, I just love what I do. So that's the...
I can tell that.
It's a positive closed circuit.
Yeah, I'm really positive, yeah. You know, we, Generation Z, we are really positive.
Oh, that's
yeah, I'm not a millennial, I'm Generation Z,
yeah. Another question?
Yeah, can you say a little bit more about that step when you were like using the social media to build your brand and your product?
Oh yeah, of course. So social media for building our brand, I mean, we are still using it, and we are still trying to figure it out, and we are still experimenting with Facebook ads and Instagram ads and other sources of social media advertising, and trying to get the best to find the best way to reach out to our target audience. But when the Kickstarter campaign started, I figured out that social media was really, really important. In fact, I think about 60% of backers came from social media, and that was thanks to some big social media sites featuring us. For example, Gaming made a video about MAKERbuino, and at that point, that single video, it brought like $40,000 of sales on our Kickstarter campaign thanks to one video. It was like 5 million views or something like that. So social media, it really was important during the Kickstarter campaign. It still is important, and the way that we are building it is that you just have to write and post and tweet and do something on it all the time. So you just need to be active all the time. You mustn't wait for like 2 days and not post anything on social media. You just need to be persistent. Yeah.
My question is like directly that before the Kickstarter
Oh yeah.
stuff, what has been doing? Okay, you have like friends and you have posts on a timeline, but before that you haven't got the real prototype. How does it work?
You mean like before the Kickstarter campaign, or before the Kickstarter campaign, we did have a prototype, a working prototype, and we were taking it to fairs for like a year before the Kickstarter campaign started, and we already did have a Facebook page, and people could actually, they were following us and they were following our progress. So yeah, we already were building the audience, and we did have something to show them before the Kickstarter campaign. And I think that was really important for us to succeed, because when you are starting a Kickstarter campaign, you really need to show something to the world. You need to show that you have something that's working, that actually can do what you've intended. And you know, if you just have an idea, people aren't going to buy it, because they're not going to support the thing, because they do not know whether you have the skill set to make it happen.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I sort of answered the question.
Yeah,
yeah, of course.
Okay.
could you paint a picture a little bit more for us in terms of like the what is your go-to-market strategy in terms of as well who's the key customer here?
Who's the key customer?
Yeah.
So,
And the key market that you're currently looking at.
so we have two key customers, two main key markets or customer groups. And the first one would be parents with children aged 11 to 18. And they are actually our biggest target group. They, STEM tools and STEM toys and educational devices, they are becoming more and more popular. And because of that, MAKERbuino is this intriguing, because parents actually are trying to get their kids off their mobile phones, and they're trying to convert all of that time spent playing video games into some kind of an educational playtime, and that's where our product comes. And the second biggest group that we are actually aiming at is this whole hobbyist maker movement, where people are building 3D printers, they are doing something with their hands, they are doing electronics at home, and people that are 40 or 50 years old, they are buying these devices and building them at home because they just like the idea, and they always wanted to build a game console themselves.
And just to add on top of that, have you looked into the potential integration of this within the educational system?
Well,
or that's
kind of,
that...
yeah. The problem with the educational system in Croatia and basically everywhere is that they have little to no money, and they just cannot afford things like these. But we were getting some inquiries and actually some quite big orders from some private universities and some private schools and private educational institutions, and that really is, I think, a good market for us. We still didn't have enough time to get our hands on it a bit more and to focus on it, but yeah, I think that really is a great potential market. And another great potential audience that we probably should target is companies, to be more precise, team buildings. And actually, I was approached by quite a lot of companies, IT companies that have a lot of coders or I don't know, designers or something like that, that work with computers on daily basis. And what they crave the most is to build something with their hands, to touch these resistors, to touch the microchips, to touch the speakers in the device. And we were actually getting some quite large orders from companies that were using these at team buildings. So they just bring a bunch of programmers and they all assemble game consoles like kids, and they just love it because they never had a chance to open their computers and to solder something and to get their fingers burned. So yeah, but it was an excellent question, yeah, by the way.
I'm gonna come back to my question now. So, what are some of the main challenges you have now, and what were the unforeseen challenges you had?
Okay, so unforeseen challenges, I will start with those. When I started my company, I had no idea what I was doing. I was 18 years old and I was really afraid. I had suddenly people from Kickstarter sent me a wire transfer with 100,000 American dollars, and I was just like, okay, now I have to spend this money and make all of these devices and allocate the money to the people, then negotiate with component resellers, and I was really panicking, and I was learning really fast, and I was burning out really fast. It was sort of like, yeah, it was a cool experience, but I wouldn't do it again. And some of the mistakes that I did when my company started, I became something like a hero in my high school, and everybody knew that I had a Kickstarter campaign, and the Kickstarter campaign boomed, and there was media coming to my school and making videos about me, and all of my friends went crazy. They were like, oh, cool, you have a company now. I need money, please employ me. And I said, okay, no problem. And I employed 13 of my best, closest friends. It was one of the worst decisions that I made in my life, because when you employ your friends and your relatives, or I don't know, girlfriends or something like that, it's all fine and dandy until a problem occurs. And when a problem occurs, then nobody actually, nobody finds you as a boss. Nobody actually is.
They have too much history with you.
Yeah, exactly. And then the problem, it just became worse and worse. And at the end, it has a negative effect on your business. It has a negative effect on your relationship with that person, with your friend, with someone else. And it just isn't the best idea to hire people based on how good you are with them and not based on their skill set. So do not hire 13 friends when you start your company, because it's not going to end well. Some other things that I didn't do well was when I started the company and when the Kickstarter campaign boomed, there was we had to do quite a lot of accounting and invoicing and paperwork and all those dull, boring stuff involving invoices. And what I said is, invoices, well, it sounds quite easy. I can do it myself. I do not need an accountant. So I didn't have an accountant for a couple of months. And when some crazy stuff started happening on this legal side, then I figured out that I really need an accountant and an administrative assistant that's going to help me out with the invoices and with, you know, customs declarations and other stuff. And I actually lost quite a lot of precious time and energy that I could have, you know, allocate on something smarter, because I was too stubborn and decided not to hire a good accountant or an administrative assistant or someone that's going to handle those invoices. So, you know, when you're starting something, just find someone who's going to handle those invoices and papers and other stuff, because your time is just too precious and you cannot waste your time on issuing invoices and paying them. Some other things, I don't know.
So what are the current challenges?
Current challenges. Well, what we figured out is when we're actually an 11-month-year-old startup, so our company is still not a single year old. Actually, we have a big party for 1 year of our company's existence. I think next week, yeah, or no. And what I figured out is that our startup, it was working on this hype-driven model. Let me explain. When there was this Kickstarter campaign, and there was a lot of hype about our product and about our company, and after that we were popping out on BBC, on Forbes, on other social media channels, and it's all cool when you have lots of hype around you and around your project and around your startup. But what happens after the hype wears off is that these products, they do not sell anymore. And we figured out that you really need to start acquiring our customers in an active way, because until recently we were just letting people come to our webpage. We didn't know how they actually were coming to our webpage and where did they actually find us, but we were spending zero money on advertising of any sort. So what we figured out is that we need to change from this hype-driven system to a sustainable business model. So we started doing Facebook ads and Google AdWords, and we started, calculating how much it costs for us to acquire a customer, and that is currently actually a challenge that we are still trying to overcome. We're trying to get a stable number of sales per month, because if you do not have the sales, you just cannot work. But things are going really good for us, because in just practically when we started, we already were a sustainable business. We were already, and we still are earning more money than what we are spending, and I'm really proud of that, because quite a lot of startups can just imagine achieving that in 2 or 3 or 5 years, and a lot of serious companies cannot achieve that. So yeah, some other challenges that we are trying to overcome. Well, yeah, we still are, and we were really inexperienced in this whole with sales. We really didn't know how to approach sales for this product. We were, good in electronics, and we were creative, and we really had the energy and wanted to make this succeed, but we didn't know, and we still do not know what is the best strategy to actually sell this product, because this is quite a quirky gadget, and we are still looking at all of our options. We are still trying to figure out whether Amazon or eBay or something else is the best distribution channel, or whether we should focus on just selling over our web shop, or whether we should focus on distributors, or whether we should send this thing to YouTubers or just do Facebook ads. We are still trying to get a hold of all of these aspects, and are still just slowly evaluating and trying to figure out what is the best option of those. Yeah, so those are some of the challenges that we are currently facing, and yes, one of the biggest challenges we are trying to make a series of similar products like MAKERbuino that are going to be fun and educational at the same time, and
while also working on the new secret project.
Yeah, actually the new secret project, it's part of that whole idea of us trying to make a brand and a series of projects that are going to be similar in a way, and
Brand compatible.
Yeah, exactly. That's the word that I was searching for. Yeah, thanks.
I have some marketing experience.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so everything is going well so far.
Yeah, actually, I'm quite satisfied. You know, in just 11 months, we managed to, register a company and achieve sustainability and launch our first product and sell it in 4,000 pieces and not burn out and die in the process. So yeah, we are still all alive and well. And I was never feeling better, and I'm really healthy, and I have quite a lot of free time. Actually, when I dropped out of college, I figured out that I can work for 10 hours every day and sleep for 8 hours, and I still have 6 hours left. 6 hours of time. That's like 6 times 60 minutes. It's like 360 minutes. It's quite a lot of minutes.
Yeah,
I can even go to gym.
Yeah, my reaction was finally, you keep hearing from people, no, I sleep like 3 hours or 2 hours a day, I sleep 15 minutes a day, I work the rest of the time. That's just crazy. People need sleep.
Yeah, exactly. We cannot function without sleep.
So you mentioned the projects, the branching out. So what's the main or some of the main goals for the future of your company?
So besides branching and making this some kind of a brand recognition where we are going to have different products with different levels of complexity and different price ranges, we are actually trying to, we're trying to cover as much audience as we can. So in the future, I would really like to make something a bit less complex. And MAKERbuino, by the way, it's 11 plus, so it's for usually children and some higher grades of primary school and high school build it and buy it. And I would really love to make something that's going to be a bit less complex, and so that we can cover a broader audience, something for I don't know, children in kindergarten or something like that. And yeah, that's what we're trying to do. Employ some more people and make some kind of a global story. And by the way, our main markets are actually not Croatia. As I said, they are United States, United Kingdom, and Germany. And I'm really proud with the fact that 95% of MAKERbuinos go outside Croatia. Mm-hmm. And that's what we plan to keep on doing. Maximum export. And what I would really love to do is make some kind of a cooperation with chain of distributors in the United States, because currently we have no distributors in the United States. We are negotiating with a few, but putting your products in the United States as a European company is sort of like a process, because you have to basically you need to manage your stock and make it available in the United States. So it's not as easy as you think it is.
It's somewhat easier if you're doing everything through Amazon, because they have dedicated warehouses.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So correct. If you choose to go down this path, that's
we're still evaluating that. Currently, we're selling via Amazon. We are selling as a third-party seller, so we are just sending the packages ourselves. We're drop shipping them, and we are thinking about doing fulfillment by Amazon, where we would put it in their warehouses. But so in general, our plan for the future is branching this whole story, growth, like every startup does, and just making our products available on as many markets as we can, with a main focus on the United States, United Kingdom, and Germany.
So right now you have how many employees full-time?
Full-time 3 employees, so we are still a really small company, and 4 external collaborators that are sort of like working half-time, and they are practically students that help us assemble these devices. Sure. We do plan to employ 2 more people this year, but we'll see how that goes. And we also do plan to do some venture capital fundraising via Funderbeam, and we're still thinking about it, and we're we are really inexperienced, as you can tell from my speech. And
speaking of, well, so far so good. In all counts. Speaking of inexperience, well, that's where the advisor comes in. So you mentioned Tomislav several times.
Yeah, exactly.
So can you tell me a little bit more about, well, the advisor, advisee, what was the word, advisee? The one getting the advice.
Receive advice, yeah.
Okay.
The mentee.
Mentor and mentee.
Mentor and mentee.
More about the mentor and mentee relationship.
Okay, so my relationship between, the relationship between me and Thomas. Well, he sort of started like an investor, and when he invested in the whole story, he thought that, okay, I'm going to give the kid some money, and he's a really smart kid. He's going to do a great job handling that amount of money, and I won't have to do anything else. And he was really, really wrong, because I had no idea what I was doing, and his role actually switched from an investor to more like a partner, a mentor, someone that I speak to every day and that helps me, someone who helps me, lead the company.
So you communicate every day now?
Yeah, basically there isn't a single day where I do not speak with Tomislav in some way, and he really cares about the whole situation, about the company, and he really finds it interesting in a way, because his first company, his big company, the big deal, the big one, they're doing IT, they're a development agency doing mobile phone, doing mobile phone applications and web applications, and Circuitmess and this whole story, I guess it comes as a relief to him, because there's just so much things going differently in this company compared to Infinite, compared to his first company, because we have hardware, we have production, we have, we manufacture stuff, and we have end users that we have to handle. So, yeah.
Is he the only advisor to the company?
Well, I think he's the most important one, but I had quite a lot of mentors and people that were leading me on this path and that were giving me advices. But let's say that he is a full-time mentor. He's a full-time advisor, and actually he really cares about the company's growth as well as my personal growth, and my personal self-improvement. So yeah, he's giving me quite a lot of advices, and he really has the knowledge, because he has a company which has over 120 employees, and he really can give me advices related to how to employ people, how to actually make a sustainable business, because he already did manage to go through that, and he really saved me quite a lot of time and saved us from some mistakes that every startup does.
Well, yeah, I mean, his company is one of the biggest development companies in Croatia.
Yeah, exactly.
What are some of the changes you mentioned you have to do personally for yourself?
For myself? So,
to grow in the right direction.
Yeah, so I think personal self-growth is really, really important when you have a startup, because as your startup grows, you also need to grow and change personally. You need to change what you do, and I had quite a lot of problems, and I'm still having problems in that sector, because for example, when I started with this, I was and still am a creative guy. I really like doing creative stuff, but I do not like going according to some rules, and it actually took a long time for me to figure out that I need to maintain some basic business practices. For example, it was really weird for me to, get used to answering emails in 2 days or less. When I started, I had my inbox and there was emails, and I said, "Oh, this one is just 5 days old. I do not need to answer that one." And obviously, he was going like crazy. So yeah. So I really had to change in this direction of self-discipline. I needed to, um, what actually happened and what is still happening to me is that there's just so much work when you have a startup that you cannot do all the work. I mean, you can work 24 hours per day and you would still have something to do when you have a startup. And what it took a long time for me to get used to that feeling and to figure out that I actually need to set priorities and not do everything and not go everywhere and not answer to every message and not, to set the priorities straight. So, yeah.
Well, this set the basis for one of my favorite questions.
Okay.
So, what are some or more advices you would give to other startup founders? In your case, especially, it would be great to other startup founders of your age.
Okay.
Younger, slightly older.
Yeah, I'm actually prepared for this one because I was at Leap Summit a couple of weeks ago, and over there everything is about motivation, and I had to say some motivational things. So I did Google something, but I'm not going to use Elon Musk quotes. Basically, what I would advise is sometimes you aren't sure whether it's a good time to start something or not. For example, when I was starting with MakerBuino, I was really scared and I didn't know whether it was a good time to start it because I was inexperienced. I was 18 years old. I didn't have the money. I didn't have the experience. And sometimes you just, cannot wait for that perfect moment to come for starting something. You just need to take a leap of faith and you just have to, do it besides not being fully prepared. Because in my situation, if I had waited for this perfect moment to come, I probably would have never started this and I would have never had a chance to, employ people and make my dream a reality and, just make a living out of what I like doing. So yeah, if you have an idea and, there's no better time to start it than now. Something else. So people usually ask me whether it's hard to do business in Croatia, whether it's hard to, have a startup in Croatia, and whether it's like some kind of a disability being in Croatia, having a business in Croatia. And what I usually tell them is that I don't really see that as an obstacle because in 21st century you can do business with Americans and sell thousands of electronic devices despite being an 18-year-old kid from Croatia thanks to the internet. So I mean the government and the situation in the country really had some kind of impact, but I think it's only like 3%. Another 97% is just your individual effort, and it all comes down to how hard, it all comes down to an individual effort. And I really think it doesn't matter whether you have a company, Croatia or Germany or Great Britain or something else.
So do you have a Croatian company? Do you also have a company in England or the US?
Not yet. I might do it to, bypass some problems with taxes and stuff like that. But currently, we only have a company here in Croatia, and we do not see that as a problem. Yeah, and the final advice would be, if you're going to start a company, be patient, and you're going to need a lot of patience, and you're going to get angry a lot, and do not yell at people. I get angry every day, and I I would like to yell at people every single day, but don't do it, because yelling at people, it just makes you feel bad and makes the person you're yelling at feel bad. So do not yell at people. Startup founders, do not do it. It's not a great thing to do.
I've never had this advice in the
Yeah, I know. I'm
Zagreb yet, so
full of
it's
interesting
great.
advices.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique event. I have to say.
Yeah, thank
it's
you
it's
for
the
coming
first.
such a huge number.
It is the first StartupGrind-Zagreb event with an all-female audience.
Oh yeah! A big applause for our female audience. All 100 female persons in the audience.
Okay, so well, that's about it. That covers the event, and thank you for coming here today. Thank you for coming all the way.
Thank you so much.
Karlovac.
Bye, MakerBuino. Just kidding. No, sorry.
No, it's fine. I'll endorse the next campaign. We're gonna do some.
Oh yeah, of course. The next crowdfunding campaign. Yeah, of course. Of course.
Okay.
You're going to be the main backer. I'm going to make the biggest perk just for you. Something like $10,000.
Oh, awesome. I should start saving up right now then. Okay, well, thank you everybody for coming here today, and see you next time on StartupGrind-Zagreb. Bye.